Hello, this is Thiago Soto, Chief Marketing Officer of Quobis. Thanks for joining this web monitoring of SIP trunks in the cloud era. Now we have 30 minutes ahead, okay, so basically we would like to explore what you need to know about the current situation, current status about SIP trunking, which are the main KPIs, metrics, platforms, tools, everything, okay. Today we are using GoToWebinar. You have an option in order to submit any question that at the end of the webinar we'll try to book some minutes, 2 or 3 minutes to answer some of your questions. Okay. Together with me is Santiago Troncoso, Product Manager of Quobis. Hello, Santiago.
Hi, hello there.
Thanks, Santi. Santi will help later at the end of the webinar with showing some of the features, solution that we have called Quobis monitoring as a service. So, well, basically this webinar is going to be recorded, okay? So later today or tomorrow, you will receive the recordings or the slides. And in terms of the topics that we would like to discuss today, we have these points. To talk about, making a short introduction to SIP monitoring and to discuss which are the main objectives and goals when you monitor your SIP network. Later we will discuss about KPIs and metrics and which are the ones that are more important for your network. Part that will be managed by Santiago is this one related with monitoring as a service. And we will close this webinar talking about future trends and Q&A. That we have some tests, so well, I think that's going to be easy for you to follow with this webinar. But in any case, remember that you have this tool in order to submit your questions that you may have. Okay. This slide just to make a short introduction about Quobis. Quobis is a Spanish company, 15 years old. So during all this time, we were working, providing professional service solutions and products related with voice over IP based on SIP, and also others related with WebRTC, where we have a communication platform. Okay. So basically, we were working with interconnection and security voice over IP networks with a focus on telcos and service providers, okay? Or in any case, any corporate that is managing a lot of concurrent sessions or a complex network, okay? So this is basically what we do. As you can see here, one of the slides that we have in order to explain which are our current activities says that we are focusing on voice interconnection, legal compliance, and unified communication for employee communication. Okay. So moving to the next slide, we are going to discuss something about why interconnection, SIP interconnection, is still important. Okay, as you probably know, the protocol has been defined a lot of time ago. The first draft was in 1996, and all the different vendors were adopting this protocol since the beginning of this millennium. No? But at the end, the problem is that despite most of them are supporting SIP for a long time, they are supporting with different flavors. Sometimes it's difficult to manage the interconnection between platforms from different vendors, and this is the reason why like AudioCodes, Revo, Oracle, and others are playing an important role in the corporate networks today. It's also important to mention that in the past, employees and PBX were in the same place network, but now corporate customers are using cloud-based platforms like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and others that are not longer at the premise of the company, now are working something. So there are new problems in order to manage this type of interconnection. So different vendors, different PBX vendors, cloud solutions, workers from home. Well, is more noise than in the past. To manage all the complexity related with routing, numbering, policies. Well, everything like this is what we are doing in Quobis. Okay. So moving to the next slides and to finish with this short introduction about the complexity that we have today, just to bring here the example of Microsoft Teams, which is the challenge that represents for corporate for companies. The first one is related with call ciphering. The companies were not used to cipher the voice and media traffic, the signaling. And now, as the traffic goes through internet, is more or less mandatory. Second is related with transcoding capabilities. In the past, more or less all the platforms were supporting G711 and was not a real problem. Now, as this traffic is being routed sometimes through internet, you need to manage or need to work with advanced codec, including Silk, that is the one that is promoting Microsoft, and you need to have transcoding capabilities to connect your Microsoft Teams network with your telco that is probably only supporting G711 or G729. You need to get expertise managing Microsoft Teams. Also, you need to get some money to pay the license that are related with the phone system part of Microsoft Teams. Another point is related with media traffic, high availability, direct routing, well, lots of topics that arise and that are well, bringing more complex to the traditional networks. Okay. So these three slides are just to explain which is the real well, all the basics concepts behind SIP, and this is important in order to explain what we are monitoring or which are our recommendations. Okay. The first one is related with the SIP message. As you probably know, most of you are aware of this. This protocol defines different standard messages like invites in order to make a call, register, in order to register one of the endpoints to the PBX, ACKs for acknowledgements, buys for finishing calls. And after starting with some of these messages, you receive some answers and you exchange predefined messages that can be grouped in 6 blocks. That's what I'm sharing this slide. No one is a provisional response like ringing, 180. The second group is related with successful, so 200 OK when the call, well, the user agrees to answer instance. The third group is related with redirection, when a user has changed from PBX to another one or from one proxy to other. So we get this 300 messages. And the 400, 500, 600 are related with failures. The first one is related with client failure that is not available, like the one that you know from okay. And 500 and 600 are related with server and network errors. Okay, so are more critical, no, than the previous one. So after after sending this information about the SIP message, this is an example of a call flow. Here we have Alice trying to connect with Boris, and basically redirect server that is using this 300 message after an invite and receiving the OK, and it's moving this invite to the proxy in the second part of the call. First, you receive 180 when it's ringing, 200 when this has agreed to receive the call, ACKs, bytes, and bytes to finish the code. So basically, is how this works. Okay, so it's important to explain later why we are using different metrics and so on. And the third part of this introduction of SIP in 3 slides is related with an example of a SIP trace, in this case, an bytes. Here we have information about the A number, B number, callee and caller number, I mean, IP address, user agent name, what else? Coded capabilities. Basically, it's the type of information that is hiding this type of trace, and depending on the predefined methods and this could be different or not. Okay, but basically, it's the type of information that is hiding this type of measures. Okay. Here we are going to, the idea here is to introduce, which is the current reality in terms of platforms. At the beginning, when we defined the index for this webinar, we put some points like it's important to use active or passive proofs, open source or commercial monitoring platforms. It is important to use this that's for monitoring or also for troubleshooting. Here in these 2 slides, I'm going to introduce just 3 examples of 3 real platforms that we are using today and how these are addressing different problems in a different way. Okay, so the first one is related with, is Oracle OCOM, Communication Operation Monitor or Enterprise Operation Monitor, EOM. Basically, this is a platform by Oracle that has been thought to monitor and troubleshoot, and also for call fraud detection, using the session border controllers or other elements by Oracle as a basic proof in order to collect all the traffic and send this traffic to the monitoring tool. So, but at the same time, we can use also third-party servers with an ad hoc software by Oracle deploying this server in order to play the role of an active proof. This is important because sometimes you need to monitor your traffic in locations in place where you lack of a session border controller. No? So they also allow the possibility to use a third-party server for this. Well, for sure, this is a commercial platform with these 2 type of different proofs, and it handles or manages not only monitoring, because also has the capacity to make some type of data correlation and so on in order to detect fraud and other KPIs. Okay, later we will discuss this. Okay, the second one is the Quobis monitoring as a service. That is, in this case, is different because it has also been thought also to work with Oracle's session border controllers, but in our case, we are using Grafana and open source tools to get SNMP traffic traps from the session border controllers, and with this we can provide KPIs of the equipment performance, level of health, RAM, and also with the SIP server. Okay, later we will discuss about this. Another example is Homer by SIP Capture. In this case, it's an open source tool that is using not the session border controllers. They are using Asterisk, Amalio, and other pretty popular open source solutions. You need to install an ad hoc software in these servers, and you can get the traffic from these platforms. And the idea is to draw something similar to what you have in the screen. So it's not only possible to draw some graphs. Here we have the possibility to draw all the call flow. Okay? So these are 3 different approaches to monitor your network. And moving to the next part of the webinar is related with goals and objectives of call monitoring. Here we have identified 7 different topics that we would like to share with you. So the first one is related with quality and performance. Here, if we are using session border controllers, supporting DSPs for have the ability to manage the media traffic. Okay, we can get a copy of this media traffic or take the monitoring tools that, well, information about call quality that the session border controller is providing. As you probably know, there is a MOS factor that is an objective and subjective way to measure the quality of the voice, and depending on the level between 1 to 5, okay, with 5 the quality is completely excellent. In fact, if you have more than 434, it's going to be excellent, and it's going to be really poor if you have below 3.09. So you can draw based on the call quality that you are receiving in real time. This is a time axis, okay? You can draw which is the quality that you are receiving per SIP trunk or via SIP user. So you can define alarms depending on well, the medium of the MOS factor, and well, send these alarms to your monitoring tool or collect these alarms and try to identify which is the problem that you have. Okay? The second one is related with SLA compliance, and this is important for those customers that are that have managed or that has agreements with telcos, service providers, and others in order to provide a level of service. No? And this is a way to have tools in order to well, basically well, know if your service is up and running if more than 99% of the time, if you are suffering some problems with some ad hoc trunks from a specific provider, etc. The third point is related with legal compliance. Well, here we are sharing some local regulation in Europe, like for data protection, credit card numbering, regulation also for call recording in banks and financials, for security, like the ISO norm. Well, at the end, depending on the country, we need to comply with different regulation, and to have a monitoring tool is helping to be sure that you are compliant with this. No, if you are using the monitoring tool, we can detect if you are sharing part of your topology, information that is confidential, like a private IP address. We can detect anomalous behavior of your network, any type of data leakage that you may experiment. Well, this is a tool that can provide more information and well, be sure that you are going to comply with the local regulation. Okay. For this cost reduction, basically this means just to monitoring the number of concurrent calls, number of sessions. You can dimension your servers, PBS license, session border controllers license, and also the SIP trunks that you have with the different providers to your reality. Okay, so we know lots of customers that have more than, well, imagine that they have 1,000 sessions with service providers and also in their session border controllers and platforms. And at the end, they are not using more than 100. Okay, so to be sure what is your real usage of your network, okay, can help you to reduce your own cost. Okay. The fifth one is related with error correction, not only for SIP configuration, also to detect problems with your network and others. Okay. Before I was explaining about that it's possible to draw or to have a tool to draw, which is the call flow that you have. So imagine that your call flow is using elements that are not relevant, that the call is going through different servers or different proxies, and that is a problem in terms of delays or latencies. Well, this is a way to identify this type of problem. You can draw all the call legs you can also get information per user agent, per realm, based on call status, duration of the call, codecs use. Well, all this information is helping in order to detect problems that you have related with your SIP configuration, but also with your PBX, proxies, and network configuration. And the last ones related with these goals and objectives are related with security. Later we will explain more about this and attacks and so on. The idea is to detect anomalous items in your calls. And the last one is related with network optimization, not only with cost reduction. Okay, here is also important to detect. And remember, we are using cloud-based solutions. We have users that are working from home to detect any type of network bottleneck, to detect if your high availability solution is working or not, because probably some of them are in standby and should be active, to define which is the best strategy for the SD-WAN. Well, basically, it provides information that helps you to improve your performance. Okay. And just to explain a little bit about what we are going to talk about security later. Well, here we have three types of attacks. The first one is related with denial of service, so trying to degrade the quality of the service. That could be failure after blackout, electric blackout, or because someone is trying to attack you with a distributed denial of service or so on. So this is the first type of attack. The second one is related with interception or illegal control. The idea is that, well, before we were talking about, we were talking a little about call thievery. Here the idea is to allow third parties that can register illegally to your PBX. They are connecting from any place, and as your network is open because you are dealing with teleworkers, you may have some problems allowing third parties or to allow attacks that are connecting to your network, and also to getting information about your calls, something like illegal interception. So this is the second part of attacks. And the last one, the last type, is related with call fraud. Basically, here is the possibility to make simultaneous calls to international numbers in order to get the attackant, in order to get money from this attack. And this is a typical problem when we are dealing with companies. Okay, most of them have suffered this type of attacks when you are experiment several concurrent calls to other countries with premium numbers in Saturdays or Sundays. And this is a common attack that we need to prevent, so using session border controllers and also using monitoring tools. Talking about metrics, basically what you need to know, there are some metrics that are pretty popular, like concurrent calls or active calls. One that is that could be also incoming, outgoing. One that is really important, especially for call center, is call or service providers and telcos, is call attempts per second. Okay, because proxies or different network elements are suffering a lot when dealing with avalanche of call attempts. Another one is related with SIP message per second. That is also important, but because depending on the type of architecture, you may experiment more or less SIP message when after a invite, for instance. Okay, so this is a key point in order to dimension the virtual machines that are hosting your communication platform. And others related with response times and others that, most of this has been defined by the E2 standardization body a lot of years ago with the telephony based on circuits. What we are going to talk today is about those that are especially related with SIP. Okay, and these were defined by the ITF standardization body in 2011. Okay, so basically these are 9 different metrics that we are going to explain, no? And complement the previous that I was explaining before and others that were defined for the general telephony. Okay. One of the key points that you might consider is that these standardization bodies do not define any type of reference value. Okay, this depends a lot of the type of network. If you are using cold forking, different elements, if you are relying different proxies, your network, if you are using or taking this metric in the user A or user B. So you may consider a lot of different points, and this is the reason why they are not defining a reference value for this. Okay. So moving to explanation of the different metrics, I'm going to be really fast through this. And the first 2 are related with delays on the registration. Okay. Well, the first one is delays, median time that your platform needs to receive 200 OK after a registration attempt. Okay. And the second one is related with the rate of attempts that are failures. Okay, remember that we were explaining about 4, 5, and 600, and basically is which is the amount of attempts that fails. Okay, or after a time limit. Okay. The second group is related with sessions. No, here we are not working with register. We are working with invites. Okay, and the first one, we have a version for successful and unsuccessful or failure attempts, is the time that is needed to receive a 180. That is the calling signal after an invite. No, it could be 100 or really okay. And the second one is the time that is needed to receive a failure. Okay, so this is something that we don't have a reference time for this, but if you are monitoring this, you can understand better how your network works, and if tomorrow are experimenting 2 or 3 times more delay than the previous day, you probably have a problem. Okay, and the SDD is similar to the invite, but in this case for the buy. Okay, for the session. Okay. SDT is for session duration. Okay, so as you probably know, this makes no sense to have a reference time for this. That depends on your coin profile. But in any case, the idea is to have a measure of this time in order to detect any type of different behavior from one day to another. Okay. Session established rate. Consider the probability to receive a 200 OK after an invite. Okay, if you are receiving lots of failures that are not well typical in your network, but you'll probably have a problem there. No, it looks similar to ASR, that is a common metric in traditional telephony, especially in call centers. One that is slightly different is SEER, okay, that in this case is the probability to receive not only at 200 OK, also to receive problems in the network, so network problems or whatever. ISA is the number of attempts when you are receiving failure after making a call. Okay, again, similar approach to the previous one. It's not important the value, it's important to detect a different behavior to what you expect. Okay, and the final one is called STR, and is the probability to finish a call in a proper way. Again, if you compare to the typical KPIs from traditional telephony, it's similar to CCR that is also popular in call centers and BPOs. And just finishing with this part, well, remember that it's not only important to have good metrics, it's also important to know how you should filter these ones. Okay, so sometimes they provide information based on time periods. It could be interesting to have indicators based on user agents, reals or global, to split the behavior between incoming or outgoing. This depends a lot of your network and your telephony service. No? And so basically, we are helping customers to identify which are the best metrics indicator and try to define the thresholds in order to create alarms. Okay, so that's all from the part of metrics. We are going to talk now a little about monitoring, and we have Santiago. Can you hear me, Santiago?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's your time. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Well, here we are presenting our approach to this monitoring space, where Quobis is presenting a monitoring platform based on Grafana and Prometheus, and also based on SMAP technology, in order to achieve monitoring of the system based on the traditional mechanisms that are already implemented on the security and network of our customers. But also we wanted to keep ready for this cloud technology, so we move everything into this kind of technology based on Grafana, Prometheus, and so on. Okay, this won't limit us to bring the KPIs and metrics that come from other platforms, for example, from Homer, and also it's being able to work in parallel with the WebRTC platform that we have nowadays on the portfolio, well, the platform that we offer and manufacture. And it's basically a concept to be shared and to serve this monitoring service in order to bring these metrics and the objectives that Jago previously said, in order to make it work properly. So it's the current state of the platform that is a first MVP includes system monitoring that includes solutions in order to check the hardware and the sources of the appliance, and also the virtual or software solutions for the SBCs and other devices. And well, we can see here that the interface is based on time and on time charts, and also on gauges that are made in order to check and that are selected in order to get a proper view of the element. You can navigate on the history, and here we can see the second section that brings concurrency of calls on a more global aspect, like global sessions around the device and during the time and by the different realms. And so the second part is more details on session agents in order to get the different infrastructure elements that are on the platform. And it's important to remark that everything here is alarmed and can be configured based on your limits, and it will bring a photo and a better understanding of your network and your communications, and with that you can configure your own alarms and your own parameters in order to bring a faster response for common troubles that can appear on your network.
Okay, thanks, Santiago. So we are now finishing with the evolution and roadmaps of future trends, or well, as you can name this. Okay, first, we see that there are improving a lot source solutions. So those that are based on Grafana, we can do a lot of different things. Homer, that is also open source, well, is pretty popular today and is providing a lot of value. Okay. There is a common trend now trying to identify some security problems. Now there are different initiatives in the US and Canada in order to be sure of the identity of the users, in order to prevent voice bots, robocalls, scams, or everything. And lots of different tools are trying to focus on this, to use not only for call monitoring and to have a good dashboard, also to prevent security threats. Okay. Artificial intelligence is providing a lot of value, okay, here, because the idea is to try to detect automatically any type of anomalous patterns. No? So for sure you can define your own thresholds, you can define your alarms, but if we can count with an engine based on artificial intelligence to detect any type of performance or anything that is not working properly, this is an interesting approach. No? And also, we are talking a lot about SIP, but as you probably know, most of you are migrating in different ways to WebRTC, as most of the common collaboration platforms today are using WebRTC, and also Quobis is exploring this world, also other players. And just to share two different approaches that I think that are interesting. The first one comes from Oracle, that this is a cloud-based solution that you pay per call. And the idea is to share information, your signaling information with Oracle, the signaling traffic to Oracle, in order to prevent or to detect any type of scam, robocalls, any problem with telemarketing, fraud, whatever. They are collecting calls from lots of different players, enterprises and telcos, in order to provide with information about a numbers that are causing frauds, and use this information in order to adapt directly the session border controllers of the service provider or the enterprise to block these numbers. This approach that is interesting. Okay. And the second one is related with Quobis Manager, that was previously explained. That is the tool that we are using for managing the WebRTC service that the Quobis communication platform is providing. And here we have again open source solution for call monitoring, also based on Grafana. And from here, we are monitoring all the WebRTC traffic. For the moment, it's only working with our platform, but could be a good approach in order to provide a SIP and WebRTC monitoring in the future. For the moment, we have both solutions. The solution that we have for the SIP traffic, the Quobis monitoring as a service, provided from our cloud, and this one, Quobis Manager, that is being used for monitoring or WebRTC traffic or for WebRTC platform, together with service enablement, user management, other topics related with the service management. Just trying to sum up what we have seen today. Monitoring is helping in order to reducing costs, reducing the median time to resolve any type of issue, to detect attacks, to improve the user satisfaction, because we are detecting which are the problems that they are experimenting. And most of the telcos, the enterprises and service providers, are not really monitoring all the SIP traffic, and we strongly recommend to explore this possibility. Second, this is today is possible to monitor the traffic in a different ways. We were about different monitoring platforms, talking about how to manage the groups to detect the traffic. There are different approaches. There is not something that is valid for all the customers, and we need to explore, understand which are the demands of the customer for this. And the third one, that is probably the most important one, is that today we are detecting that most of the customers are expecting not only providing some type of reactive support, they want us or they want others to anticipate to customer problems. We have the possibility to work with different telcos today, and they expect from us to detect that a customer is experimenting a problem before they receive a call with a complaint from the customer. This is the best way to get this. So I think that's all from our side. I think that we have answered more or less all the questions that you have submitted through our chat. I'm now receiving 3 or 4 questions related with the availability of the slides. At least the recordings will be available soon. Okay, you will receive in your email address later today or probably tomorrow. You will receive the slides of this webinar. I'm sharing my contact details in this screen. Do not hesitate to get in contact with us if you have any questions. Okay. Thanks a lot for your time today, and well, we will wait for your feedback.